Welcome back to The Beat. And making his debut on the program is Donald Trump's former national security advisor, Ambassador John Bolton. He's the author of the book, The Room Where It Happened. Thanks for joining me, sir.
Glad to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Many issues in your book and in the news. The New York Times reporting on Donald Trump's tax issues also discusses that the president's conflicts have hurt him in Turkey, where the business community and the authoritarian government there have not hesitated to leverage various Trump enterprises to their advantage. How does that match some of the concerns you raise in your book? And do you think there is an ongoing national security threat here?
Well, I think one of the problems that Trump has is that he can't distinguish between his own personal interest and the national interest. He thinks, for example, if he has a good relationship with President Erdogan of Turkey, that means that U.S. relations with Turkey are also good. Now, I don't mean to minimize the impact of personal relations and foreign policy, but those two things are not the same. I can't really speak to whether there are financial interests involved. In my experience, I didn't see that. I saw it more in the area of Trump's political interest, where he conflated those interests with the national interest repeatedly, and I found that to be very, very troubling.
Did you ever see a situation where his reported debt affected his foreign policy decisions?
No, I don't. And I know this criticism has been out there. Certainly, there's a lot of personal debt if the New York Times story is accurate. And you ask, well, why are there personal guarantees involved when these are corporate transactions? It may mean that he's short on assets. All of these are questions. I just think it's important, because I don't think Trump should get another term, that when you make a criticism, that there are facts to support it and not just speculation. I'd like to know a lot more about where these debts are owed, what the terms are, what the circumstances are. But right now, at least from the data that's available publicly, we just don't know what the facts are.
Mm-hmm. You say you don't support him getting another term. Are you backing Joe Biden?
No, absolutely not. I'm going to be unhappy on Election Day one way or the other. Look, I don't think Donald Trump is a conservative. I don't think he has any philosophy at all. He's not motivated by policy or strategy. He's motivated by what's good for Donald Trump. And I'm not going to vote for that. I did in 2016, but after 17 months in the White House, I'm not going to do it again. Joe Biden, I disagree with philosophically. So it's not a very good choice from my perspective. I'm going to write in somebody else yet to be determined.
The Justice Department has come under fire, including from people who aren't necessarily sympathetic to you for any political or other reason, for the way that they appear to be criminally investigating you with this book. Do you see evidence that you're being retaliated against for criticism?
Well, look, the president made it clear in public statements he didn't want the book to appear before the election. We're in litigation now over it, so it's really not appropriate for me to comment on it further. But I'm confident that I'll be vindicated.
Yeah. Well, if you're vindicated, and I understand completely that there's limits on what you may want to say with an open case. If you're vindicated, that would add you to a long list of individuals, including, we discussed it with Mr. Cohen earlier this hour, because it's that kind of night, who have been on the other side of what looks like the politicizing the Justice Department, no small matter. I want to turn to impeachment, where many Americans who didn't already know your foreign policy work, which is extensive, learned about you. And as you know, I don't think it's any secret to you. On the one hand, the book now, and in other reporting then, there was discussion of what you saw bolstering that case. As many remember, you didn't speak out at the time. Here's some of the criticism. Take a look, sir.
It is a dereliction of duty that John Bolton decided to make money off of what he knew rather than to try to save democracy.
He, too, is a disgrace. He chose money over patriotism.
He didn't need a subpoena to tell the American people in a book about these issues.
John Bolton is a political opportunist and a profiteer.
Oh, no, not the room where it happened, John Bolton. Oh, man, I can't believe I have to respond to this and beyond this. You should have written that and testified before Congress.
The last one being, of course, Lin-Manuel Miranda, who You don't want to get a lot of shade from him, Mr. Bolton. He's very popular and associated with Hamilton. But the issue is deadly serious, and I want to get your response on it. You said this mattered. You said this was vital. And then you withheld the testimony claiming that there was some sort of legal reason. But then later you published this book. So your response to this criticism?
Well, the criticism in what you just said is absolutely wrong. And in fact, what happened before the House was that they subpoenaed my former deputy, Charlie Kupperman, to appear. Immediately after he was subpoenaed, the White House sent him a letter saying the president was directing him not to testify. So here you have one branch of government ordering him to appear and another branch of government ordering him not to appear. So Charlie Kupperman did what I thought was perfectly reasonable. He went to the third branch of government, the judiciary, and said, who am I supposed to obey? And both the House of Representatives and the White House argued that the court had no jurisdiction. And ultimately, the House withdrew the subpoena. They never issued me a subpoena. Everybody else who testified to the House
no, I know, and
was issued a subpoena.
Respectfully,
so, no,
my
but this
viewers...
this is important. I didn't withhold anything. Let's be clear on that.
It is important. You waited to publish the book, and let me give you a follow-up question as an attorney, and then I'll let you respond. Ambassador, respectfully, you're claiming that the executive branch opposition was key. But as we just discussed, the executive branch still opposes this now. They're even investigating you, but you went forward with the book. Why didn't you go forward when it mattered with the Senate?
I told the Senate in a statement that explained the circumstances of the earlier litigation that I was prepared to testify. And the Senate voted by a majority vote not to call any witnesses because Republicans, by and large, said even if the president did what it was alleged he had done in Ukraine, that his conduct did not rise to the level of an impeachable
we remember
offense.
that.
I think what's really wrong here. Now, let me finish, sir. Mr. Melber, please, let me finish. What's really wrong here is the total Democratic mismanagement of the impeachment process. And that you don't want to talk about, I can see, but that's where the real problem is.
Respectfully, it's not about what I want to talk about, but I am posing a question, and I'm trying to get your answer for the public record, sir. I'm not doing it with any disrespect. The senators who spoke out did say in both parties they would have welcomed your words. And you don't need a subpoena to write a book, which you later did. So while I understand the nuanced resuscitation of the litigation record that you're sharing, the question remains, the stuff that's in the book, wouldn't it have been better served to release at the time that the government, another branch, was considering this?
No, because the point I was trying to make before is the Democrats badly mismanaged the impeachment process. They believe that if they could impeach Trump, they could inflict political damage on him, and it would inhibit him from this conduct in the future. That's what Nancy Pelosi meant when she said he would be impeached forever. But what they failed to understand was they drove Republicans into a partisan corner. They guaranteed that impeachment would fail in the Senate and that Trump would be acquitted. So I blame the Democrats for not taking the time to understand what was really at stake. They are the ones who have now enabled Trump. That process strengthened him with their base. The Democratic impeachment effort led to exactly the opposite consequence from what they said they intended. And that the country is still suffering from.
And you have every right to share that political or legislative critique, and my viewers are hearing it. I want to be clear, though. You have not offered a substantive reason for why you, the ambassador, didn't speak out then, notwithstanding the fact that you didn't like the way they ran the impeachment. Because at the time you did say the executive branch opposed, and they still did. Go ahead, sir.
If you want to listen to it. And that is the government at that point had not cleared what I had written on Ukraine. If you think there are difficulties now, you can imagine what would have happened had I spoken out at that point. I'm very clear here that I did the right thing by telling the whole story, and I didn't do it for money. If I had wanted to make money, I never would have gone into the government in the first place.
Ambassador, I think these are important issues, and you have a mastery of what happened in your view, and I want to give you the chance to express it. So I appreciate you coming on the beat. I hope you'll return, sir.
Right. I actually thought we were going to talk about what was in the book.
Well, you're a newsmaker and you're a former government official, so I'm happy to mention the book, and you got to promote it. We also discuss other issues. I hope you agree that in a democracy, journalists interview former government officials about a range of topics and not just the book tour, yes?
You may do what you want, sir.
Ambassador John Bolton, again, the book is The Room Where It Happened. Appreciate your time. Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.